Welcome back, everyone. I'm John, and I'm here with Sam Raymaker to talk zoning and hydronics for our third New, Now, Next Fall 2018 launch event of the day. In our last video, we talked with Dan from Honeywell about what's new, now, and next in the residential thermal solution space. If you missed it, be sure to check it out. If you have questions or comments for myself or Sam today, please add them below the video and we'll do our best to address them. Now, without further ado, let's get going. Sam, welcome. Thanks for coming out today.
Nice to see you again,
yeah,
sir.
Good to see you. Now, Sam, why don't you tell everyone out there in our audience who you are and what it is you do at Honeywell?
Well, John, I'm the marketing product manager for Honeywell, focusing on their zoning business, their water solutions business, and their ductless business.
Awesome. And you've been at this for a little while, right?
I've been there for a few years.
Awesome. So that means that you're going to be able to answer the questions that I've got outlined here today.
Sure, will do my best.
Great. So we're going to get a lot of information from Sam that's going to help you, the pros, with all the things related to zoning and hydronics. So speaking of that, let's get right into the zoning stuff. Now, in fact, this is where Honeywell's story really begins, is zoning.
It really does. Back in 1885, Honeywell first invented the damper flapper, which in its essence was the foundation for its first thermostat and zoning product. What it did back then, coal fires were very common. When the coal fire got too hot, the damper would close, and when it became too cool, it would reopen for air.
Now, a lot of people don't realize this, but the name damper flapper was actually created by dancers because they danced so much, flappers, that they sweat and they were damper. Damper flapper, right?
I think you can do better.
Okay, we're going to move on now. So the concept of zoning can get a bit complicated, right? So how do you normally explain it to people who aren't comfort pros?
Sure. So I'm a car guy. You know that, John,
Yep.
right? And the best way to explain a zoning solution, or the concept of zoning, is something they see mostly every day. In vehicles, they often have climate control, dual zone, quad zone. And what you do there is to set the temperature per your preference, hot or cold, different from the other passenger. Similar to zoning in a home.
Yeah, so then everybody's comfortable because some people run warmer, some people run cooler, and that is the beauty of zoning, is that all of a sudden it adds another layer of comfort to the residents.
Correct?
Great. So what kind of home then is ideal for a zoning solution?
So John, have you ever seen a one-room home?
No. One-room schoolhouse, yes. Not a one-room home. Yeah.
So because homes have many different levels, they have ultimately more than one room, different temperatures can be present in all those different spaces.
True.
It can even come down to where the sun's hitting and what side of the building has more light. All these are variables in temperature. And because of that, nearly every home is a candidate for zoning.
Great. So what then are all the components for a zoning solution?
So it really comes down to three different products. One being the zone actuator and damper. It's the mechanics of the zoning solution. It's the item that actually opens and closes for the airflow. The second item is the thermostat. It's the control which goes into the room and signals what temperature it is. That feeds into the third option, which is the zone control board. This is where all the magic happens. This is where all the information feeds into each other, tells that damper to open, understands when there's airflow. The moral of the story is to have the homeowner be comfortable.
Great. So now, say a little more about the integration of these three components and what each of them does and why each of these components is important to the ultimate zoning solution.
Well, we know the ultimate solution is comfort, right?
Of course.
With these three different items is, again, the damper actuator itself is the mechanics. It comes in different sizes and shapes, and it allows them to be placed nearly anywhere where the airflow is present. What it does is it opens and closes, allowing airflow to go through by signal from the control panel. And the control panel has a number of different inputs and whatnot. Being Honeywell, we got some great solutions as far as connectability, as far as adaptability, and different ways to customize it. Now, it feeds in different inputs, the thermostat being an example. The thermostat needs to be in a location where it signals where we should zone. One room or one level can be a zone. that needs a feed for the temperature. And all that stuff talks together, and I said before, magic. Sure. It's really magic on how it works, but there's also a few products involved too.
Well, of course, absolutely. I mean, there has to be some hardware, right? Of course. So does that mean then, you talked about customization and thermostats, does that mean that each zone then needs its own thermostat, and how does that work exactly?
It definitely does, and at Honeywell we're very proud to offer and proud to say that we have a solution for nearly every application. Number of different stats, number of different controls, number of different zoning items and products. Again, they all work together, but they all work for different types of homes and buildings.
Sure.
A stat is required in each area which you call a zone. A zone can mean a room, a zone can mean a floor. It depends on your preference.
Great. So now you mentioned that you've got solutions for really any kind of home. So does that mean that the products not only are suited for new construction, but you've also got products that work with retrofit projects?
We sure do.
Great.
It's a common misconception where zoning can only be installed in a new building, in resident new construction.
Sure.
However, Honeywell also has a number of solutions that are actually called retrofit dampers for homes that already exist. And what that allows them is the installer to be able to zone a home that already is there.
That's great. So talk a little bit more about that. What are the challenges that you've found solutions for between a new construction install for zoning solutions versus a retrofit, and why the need to address both of those?
Easily put, a new building typically has more space. Often there's not sheetrock there, or there's not barriers to where the airflow and the ductwork and the sheet metal may live. Now, yes, it is a requirement that you need to have access to that in a retrofit. However, our areas, our products that are retrofit spec, they fit into the areas that minimizes on the cuts, minimizes on the customization to put that into the solution, to make sure that it works. What we want to do is have products for both areas, and we do the best we can with our offering.
That's awesome. So that's one of those things, I think, for the pros out there to keep in mind, because customers, in talking about a retrofit project, remodels, redesigns, upgrades, those types of things, we often think of those in relationship to stuff like appliances or bathrooms, kitchens, new cabinetry, new countertops, those types of things. But often customers may think, well, yeah, it's just, we've got some issues, hotter rooms, colder rooms, different times of the year, we need different temperature settings in various parts of our home. Well, guess what? You can now do the same type of upgrade, quote unquote, remodel to an existing home that will bring these great Honeywell zoning solutions right into your existing home.
Yeah, we sure can. We sure can. I mean, what you're getting at is their homes are always adapting, and the need is always there. But sometimes we don't know about it, and now we can.
That's great news. And that just gives you, as the pros, one more way to create that great relationship with your customers for a win-win situation. Now, speaking of that, what's the best way for a Comfort Pro to offer zoning to a customer? What kinds of approaches have you found that have really been the most effective?
The one thing that I found personally to be the most effective, as well as what our customers also say, is to ask questions. Ask questions, whether it's a service call or whether it's a phone call, about what's important to them, how their house is built, where the orientation of the sun is on their home, how many levels they have, where do you spend most time in the home? Because when it comes down to it, you want to make sure that you're comfortable in the area you're at, rather than using energy to cool or to warm an area, which you're not.
Yeah, absolutely, because everybody has hot and cold zones, right? For the most part, in their homes. Yeah, right. So, and I think that is the important thing about asking questions, because again, what you might define as comfortable and what I might define as comfortable could be two completely different things.
You're correct.
So if we're not really approaching each customer as a unique, opportunity, then sometimes we can try to just make one solution work for everybody. But that's the great thing about Honeywell, is that they realize there's a different way to solve the zoning issue, which means you've got a product lineup and components within zoning solutions that will help to make each individual project its own custom project. And that makes the customer feel great. So ask those questions, make sure you know what their needs are, and continue to build that trust that you already have with your customers on the other projects you've been working on. So let's move on now and talk a little bit about what sets Honeywell's zoning solutions apart from some of your competitors.
Right. Now, without talking about the competition,
sure,
I think the best way to answer this question, and its truest way to answer, is we have the full solution set. Every home is different, and with that, it requires different size dampers. It requires different types of thermostats and zoning controls, and every other solution we have for comfort. But my point being is that if you have a need, we likely have a solution for you with our full and complete offering of zoning products.
That's great. And that, again, offers the confidence that the pros need when they go into any situation, that they're going to be able to create that relationship with Honeywell where that solution, they already have it.
Yeah, to continue to be the hero, John.
Excellent. So now, looking ahead, where do you see demand for zoning solutions headed?
Zoning's always growing, and it's continuing to grow. What we've seen recently is the awareness of comfort. Consumers are now understanding that they can have a say in how they feel and how to improve it. With that, it's just going to continue to do so.
Sure. So what are some of the ways that the pros can help bring that awareness to the customer and get them aware of all the great opportunities and solutions that Honeywell has?
Just going back to asking questions. You really got to be that consultant, right? And that hero and that advocate for your homeowner, your customer. Make sure to understand what's important to them, because you have a solution likely in your tool bay.
There you have it. Great. Well, now that since we've talked about being car guys, we're going to change gears, and both of us know how to do that manually, not just automatically, right? So we're going to change gears now and talk about hydronics. Now, some comfort pros might not be aware that Honeywell has a big presence in the water solutions space. So can you tell us a little bit about the Honeywell portfolio?
Sure thing. Little known fact, right?
Yeah, I like little known facts.
But Honeywell's water portfolio is equal size, plus or minus, to its thermostat offering.
There you go.
Right? So forced air and water solutions are also similarly related, where forced air is a means of heating and cooling a home. In many areas, especially many areas in the world, heating and cooling by water is just as relevant.
Okay, so now it's my understanding there are two different types of water you're talking about, right? You're talking about potable.
Correct.
And then you're talking about hydronic.
Correct.
And so tell me the difference between those two.
Potable water, in essence, is your drinking water. It's items that comes out of your faucet. It's items that is being warmed in your water heater, in your water tank. For hydronic heating, it's generally speaking closed loop. And what it does is heat your home. Have you ever seen a radiator?
Yeah, absolutely.
Many times.
Right.
Do you have in-floor heating?
I have lived in places that have in-floor heating, for sure, yep.
And that would be another idea of a concept of hydronic heating. Yeah. But hydronic heating can also cool as well.
Great.
So, two different areas.
So what are some of the solutions in each of those areas that you just mentioned? What are some of the solutions for both?
On potable, it's likely segmented into two different groups. One being the mixing valve, which is something that is really relevant around the water heater itself. Well, the three different values of what a mixing valve does is to protect scalding and burning from the consumer. It also mitigates growth in your tank by allowing you to keep your tank at a higher temperature. But then most importantly, it also allows usable hot water of your tank to increase. You can practically have a 40-gallon physical tank and allow it to have 60-gallon or 70-gallon of usable hot water by mixing. Now on the hydronic aspect, Honeywell has a full offering, everything less than the boiler and the radiator. Everything in the middle, we likely have.
Yeah, that's great. So Speaking of these solutions, and it sounds like there are a lot of different options here, which is great because we like options. Well, let's talk now about the fun stuff, about the actual solutions themselves, and especially what's new now and next in water solutions.
Upcoming soon, we got 3 different items, one being the Zone Valve ProPress, we have the AM1 mixing valve with push connect, and we also have the DS06 jumper kit.
Oh, excellent. Well, let's start with that DS06 jumper kit. Now, what does that do exactly?
That's a funny story.
Yeah, good. I'm glad. I'm ready for a funny story. Because my humor earlier just didn't make it, so maybe this will actually make up for that.
Right, so what a DS06
Yeah.
is it's a pressure reducing valve. It's one of those components of the potable water solution where it steps down the water pressure. Different from a mixing valve, it steps down water pressure. Now, what this does is the jumper kit is a placeholder. Okay. It's a placeholder for new construction in areas where we don't know how long the building will be unoccupied. We know that a hot topic today is scrap value.
Yes.
And what we want to avoid is having someone come into the home and steal components of value, which are pressure reducing valves can be large.
Sure.
And they can be valuable.
Yes.
However, what this does is it allows the installer to put this jumper kit in the system, has the right space for the Honeywell PRV to put into it, but it allows it to be tested with either water or with air pressure to make sure that it's plumbed correctly. Now, when the homeowner or when the building's occupied, whether that might be a week or 3 months, they can come in, take the jumper kit out, and put the pressure reducing valve in. You're in business.
So it really offers 2 great things as a placeholder. It's safety and security within the valuable components that are installed there when the home isn't being occupied. Also, it sounds like it's an easy switch. Then once the home is going to be occupied, it's an easy switch to remove that placeholder and put in the proper component at that point.
You're correct.
And so then now the next question then about that is, so it sounds like, is there testing available? So the placeholder, because I'm assuming there's some tests that you'd want to run, and what are those tests that you'd want to run in preparation for the home being, having its new occupants? And can you do that with the placeholder?
Yeah. Generally speaking, when you purchase a new home, you open that front door, you unlock it for the first time, you want to make sure everything works, right?
Of course.
So in regards to plumbing, the jumper kit is engineered to be able to be tested with water or with air pressure, whatever is convenient for the installer or the contractor.
Well, that's excellent. So really, it has so many purposes, the DS06 jumper kit. All right, so Sam, moving on, let's talk a little bit about the AM1 mixing valve with push connect fittings. What's new with this particular product?
So we're very excited to offer this new push connect AM valve for our AM1 portfolio of mixing valves. Honeywell's had a long-standing history of a very great AM1 mixing valve, and with our new inclusion of the push connect fitting, we have now completed the offering of the different fittings used in the industry.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about how does that push connect fitting work?
A push connect fitting has a barb inside of the ring, which allows plastic or copper pipe to be put into it and has a very quick and easy and reliable connection.
Great. So it's versatile, it's speedy, it's an easy install, and it works with plastic or copper.
Sure does.
That's great. Another great solution from Honeywell. And now moving on and talking about speed and convenience, because that's something we hear from the pros. They love easy installs, speedy installs, things that just work and they know they're going to work. So because of that, you've got this new zone valve with ProPress fitting. Tell me about that.
Similar to the AM story, Honeywell's had a long-standing and great history with our zone valves. Offer a ton of them today, all with different fittings. We're missing one, and it aligns well with the highest trend that we've seen, the most upcoming trend, which is ProPress in the plumbing channel.
Great.
The ProPress fitting, Honeywell has partnered with Viega and have added that to our legendary zone valve to offer a solution that is quick to install and very reliable.
So you mentioned ProPress is really popular right now. What makes it so great?
It's just the speed. It's the speed and the robustness of it. It's something that just always works. It's very easy to do. You don't need a torch. You don't need to flare it back on. It just is very simple Yeah, it means more money in their pocket too.
That's excellent. So it sounds like it also has a safety component to it as well.
Sure does.
In addition to speed and convenience and safety, that's a great piece, the new zone valve fitting with ProPress. So let's move on now and cover off on what we learned today, all right? And Sam, honestly, this is really just a test to make sure that I was paying attention because, quite honestly, sometimes I zone out. Get it? Zone out. Zoning.
Much better.
Right.
I like it.
And sometimes I'm all wet. Get it? Hydronics and all. Okay, so we talked about zoning, and then we talked about what it is, what it encompasses, and how to offer it to the customers. Next, we talked water solutions. The DSO6 jumper kit was first, and it helps limit theft and damage on the job site, which is a win-win for everybody. Then we talked about the AM1 mixing valve with push connect fittings, which makes install faster and easier. And finally, we covered the new zone valve with ProPress fittings, which makes our Series 1000 zone valves 1000% more awesome. Sam, did I miss anything?
Spot on, sir.
Excellent.
But
Yeah.
I'll fill in a couple blanks.
Please do.
With the zoning offering of Honeywell, it really just comes down to the two things, the efficiency aspect of it, but the comfort, right? And now we have that full offering moving forward. On our zone valve edition, as well as our mixing valve edition, full solution set. Honeywell, we don't make widgets. We make that solution for you to be the hero. Once again.
Excellent. So really, it makes Honeywell a one-stop shop.
Best way I can say it.
Beautiful. So where can people go to learn more about and or purchase these products?
Well, our distributor partners are great resources. These products are now available today, or you could visit our two websites. One would be forwardthinking@honeywell.com, the second being customer.resideo.com.
Excellent. Sam, I knew that you were going to have all the answers today. Not only did you have all the answers, but you had even more information for us, which is great. I know the pros appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming out today.
My pleasure, sir.
So we have one more video today where we'll be talking about what's new now and next in indoor air quality. You won't want to miss it. For more information about the products and solutions we featured today, check out forwardthinking.honeywell.com/new now next. See you soon.